Hey there. Have you ever been hungry, but after you eat, you're not satisfied? Have you ever been thirsty, but after you drink, or even while you're drinking, you think, I'm just going to get thirsty again? Well, if you've ever been unsatisfied with what you're eating, consuming, drinking, then this video is for you. By the end, I want to show you how you can be fully satisfied in ways that you may have never dreamed. I will offer you ways that will bring you into levels of freedom that you may have never imagined possible. So stay with me, and I'll take you there. Welcome to episode 1. My name is Bo, and I want to share some life-changing things with you. When I was young, I was learning about life. I was coming into my own, trying to figure out what my purpose was, and I began to notice something in my heart was off. I would eat food. I would go eat, and halfway through my meal, I'd be like, why am I doing this? Why am I eating? I'm just going to get hungry again. I'd feel the same way about a good book. I'd finish the good book and feel totally unsatisfied. I'd do the same thing with drinks, with video games, with anything I was consuming. I would consume, and then I would feel unsatisfied. And I couldn't shake that thought. I couldn't shake that feeling. And I quickly realized something was missing in my life, and it was really, really bothering me. I needed to do something about it. And I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to talk to. And so I went back to how I grew up. You know, what did I ever learn, or what did my parents ever teach me that may help me figure out the answer? And I realized, hey, you know, I had a moderate Christian background. I was baptized when I was 8 years old, and I learned a little bit about Jesus and about faith in God. Maybe there's something there. That's what I thought. And so I went searching there. And maybe it's the same for you. Maybe you have something in your past, like relationship with God, that you've never really delved into. You've never really made it your own. Well, for me, I hadn't. You know, I had a very light relationship at best, and I was finishing my last year in college, and I realized I was really off track with life, truth, meaning, purpose, things like that. So when I went and examined that, I realized I didn't have a relationship with God almost at all. My relationship existed as one that I would ask God for things in panic modes where something had gone wrong, and I would pray and ask Him to make it right, you know. And I had a lot of examples of when I was young and when I was little, praying and asking God for things, and God would solve my issues pretty quickly. And when I was young, that was sufficient. You know, that was my relationship. I was like a baby. But when I got older and I was in college, I realized that I didn't even know if God was real at that point. I started to doubt everything. Fear had begun to grow stronger and stronger in my life. I became afraid to be wrong about what I believed. I was afraid of not knowing things. I was afraid of failing in numerous ways in my life. Have you ever been afraid to fail? Most people have. For me, it was a big deal. I was terrified to fail in many areas of my life. Eventually, all these fears led me to the point of exhaustion. I was ready to give up on life. And, you know, because of that, it led me to the point where I didn't care anymore if I was wrong. I was tired of being afraid. And I just wanted to know the truth. That was the ultimate thing. I was like, you know what? If Christianity is false, I don't care, because I want to know the truth. That's where I was at that point in my life. I needed to know the truth. So where are you with that? Do you need to know the truth? Do you want to know the truth? Does it matter to you? Well, it mattered to me. So because I had this history in my life of asking God for things and seeing small prayers answered, I went back to that. You know, at this time, I was doubting he was even real. God was even real. So I thought maybe those were all coincidences. So I decided, you know what, God, if you're real, I need to know. Please reveal yourself to me. That was basically my prayer. And I told God what I was going to do. I said, I'm going to keep a journal, and I'm going to write down the prayers that I ask you, and I'm going to pay attention, and I'm going to see if you answer them or not. And I decided to do this for 6 weeks. And after week 2, I had over 60 pages of answered prayers. It was ridiculous. I couldn't believe it. I was so overwhelmed that my mind short circuited. And I remember laughing and crying and tears, and just for me and where I was, I God met me. He met me. So it was amazing. And I was convinced nobody could talk me out of the God that came to me in my moment of panic and fear and doubt, and revealed himself to me as a true person. And when I talk about God, it's not just, I talk about the Father the most, but it's Jesus, it's Holy Spirit, and it's the Father, right? It's a them. But when I say he, it's because I was learning to interact with the Father the most from the beginning. That was just my path. So I began to learn how to eat real food that satisfied me at that point. And what I was consuming before this point was just natural food that wasn't satisfying me. My soul was not satisfied. And because I became aware of that, I really wanted to know more, and as soon as I knew God was real, God, it lit a fire in me like I could not explain. I mean, for the next 15 years minimum, maybe more, I was so hungry to know more about God. I just wanted to know who God was. I wanted to know about God. I wanted to have a relationship with God. And so that I spent years going around the world and learning from different people and different preachers and teachers who knew about God, who knew about Jesus. And that's a story for another day. But for this video, I want to help you know where to go and what to do. I want to tell you a little bit about what I learned. Did you know that you were created to be satisfied? You were created to be fulfilled. Did you know that your natural hunger, your natural thirst are pointing to something more? And eating or drinking alone by itself is not going to help you. It gives us a little bit of energy, gives us a little bit of satisfaction, but that runs out. And that is pointing to something. When I discovered that there was more to food, that there was more to drink, that there was more to video games, more to books, more to these things that I was consuming, it changed my life forever. And it continues to change my life, because every day I'm still in this body, I'm still in this world, and I'm still eating and I'm still drinking, and I'm still desiring certain things. And I want to take you to John 4 first, just to give you a little bit of what Jesus is saying about true hunger and true thirst. In John 4, Jesus meets a woman of Samaria. He's been walking all day with his disciples, maybe more than a day, I don't know. He's tired, he's hungry, he's thirsty, because he subjects himself as a man, right? He's out in the hot desert sun, and they're walking for miles and miles and miles. And he meets a woman who is out in the middle of the day getting water from a well, and he starts interacting with her. There's a lot more to the story, but just to keep it straight and simple to the point, he says to this woman, "Give me a drink of water." And she responds, they talk a little bit, and then Jesus says, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." She's confused, naturally. And then he further elaborates. He says, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again." If you drink natural water, you're going to be thirsty again. "But whoever drinks the water that I give them will never thirst. Indeed, the water that I give them will become in them a spring of water welling up into eternal life." So much in his words. What is he saying here? He's saying something very plain, but also very mystical. Drinking natural water is not going to satisfy you, but it's pointing to something you need, something that I have to give you. Let's look at another place. 2 more chapters up to John 6. Jesus had recently, he'd fed thousands of people miraculously with his disciples, and all the people were like, wow, he gave us food and drink. And obviously they're hearing his teaching and they're captivated by what he's saying. But really, according to right here, to Jesus, he's like, you're following me, you're coming back because you're hungry and you're thirsty. He's pointing out their natural desires to be filled, but he's trying to show them more, that there's more to their natural desire of hunger, their natural desire of thirst. He says, you're looking for me not because of signs you saw me perform, aka you don't believe in me, but because I gave you natural food to eat and I satisfied your hunger. And then he tells them this: don't work for food that goes bad, that perishes, that rots or spoils, but work for food that lasts for eternal life. The Son of Man will give this to you, he says. So again, Jesus tells these people something very similar he told the woman of Samaria. He says, you're hungry and you're following me thinking I'll give you more natural food, but what you really want deep down is to be satisfied by true food, and what food is actually pointing to. Food that I can and will give to you. They said, please give us this food, Jesus. Please give us this food. And Jesus says, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry. Whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. All right. So here is the main point of the video. Jesus is the solution to your hunger and to your thirst. Now, you may have heard this before, but I want to take you deeper than you've ever gone before. I want to help you to continue to go deeper, because there's no limits to how deep you can go with this. I'm telling you, I've been going deeper every year for years now, and it just gets better and better. So to practically eat and drink spiritually, to satisfy your spiritual hunger and your spiritual drink, there's various ways to do that, and the big picture is when Jesus says, come to me, he's saying, hey, I have what you need, right? When you come to Jesus, or when you invite Jesus to come to you, this is what is being solved: your eternal hunger and your eternal thirst. You're made to be satisfied. You're made for him. And he wants to come live in you, in your life, in your spirit, in your heart. I'm sure many of you have heard that before. And when Jesus comes to live in you, he becomes in you living water, right? He becomes in you living food. You can even become a food source and a drink source, spiritually speaking, for those around you. And it's amazing, the satisfaction, the purpose, the depth, the joy, the goodness that we get to experience when we enter into this relationship. Really, it's you're hungry, you're thirsty, come to me, invite me to come to you, and let's do this relationship. And then that relationship creates life, creates so much life. So for those of you who may not yet believe, what matters most is your heart. Your heart is unique. There's no one else who has a heart like yours. It's not the same. Yours is different. You've been through different things. You have different parents. You have different background, history, culture, all this kind of stuff. It's different for you. But what matters is that your heart is authentic, real, pure. When you come to Jesus, or when you invite Jesus to you, you say, hey, Lord, hey, Jesus, I want to know you. I want you to be Lord. I want you to come into my life. I want you to come into my heart. I want you to come into my spirit. I want to follow you. I want your way. I want to be satisfied by you. I want to know what it is to be satisfied in my hunger. I want to know what it is to be satisfied in my thirst. Please satisfy my hunger. Please satisfy my thirst. Do it your own way. You can have someone lead you in prayer. You can pray yourself. Praying is just talking with God, using the eyes of your heart. That's your imagination. That's what the Bible calls it. So you just interact with a true heart. That's all it takes for an unbeliever to enter into a relationship with God. God is unbelievably good, so much better than you or I have ever known. And every day, I want to get to know him better. And this is one of the main purposes of this channel. I want to help you know God's goodness better and enter into and nurture an incredible relationship that'll bring you so much purpose and life. Okay? Now, for those of you who already believe, you may be asking, well, how the heck do I, and how does this relate to me? I'm still hungry, I'm still thirsty, okay? I want to tell you that's an invitation to deeper relationship with God. You've already got God living in you now, okay? Because God lives in you, you have rivers of living water waiting to pour out of you. So you can create, you can do, you can be the Christ that only in you can be, right? There's no other Christ like you. So be yourself, and as you nurture relationship with Jesus, you will express the food and the drink for others around you, but you receive in your relationship with him that strength and that nourishment that produces that life in you. So in the next video, I want to show you some practical ways that you can nurture this. I want to talk about, you've heard about reading the Bible and waking up early and praying and the spiritual disciplines. And those things are all good, but if those are not tools for relationship, then they're worthless. In fact, they're less than worthless. They're bad. They become wicked. Reading the Bible can be very wicked if you read it with a heart of law, of Pharisee, of pride. But if you read the Bible to come into relationship, it's beautiful, it's glorious, and it will help you in so many ways because it's such a glorious, beautiful book. So that's what I have for you today. Come to Jesus and be satisfied in your hunger and in your thirst. And in my next video, I'm gonna talk to you about how to grow in that and satisfy the hunger and thirst in practical ways that will fill you with purpose and life and joy and goodness. Thanks for watching. I'm keeping these short so that you can watch them on your drives or on short walks or times when you have a little bit to do and it doesn't take too much of your day. So, all right, love y'all and see you next time.